Hello and welcome to Introduction to 2D Platformer using Unity. My name is Joaquin and I am a representative for Dagat Games, where we aim to develop arts, games, and technologies. In this series of videos, we will take a dive into creating a 2D platform game. For this video's index, we will first define what a 2D platform game is. Second, look at examples of 2D platform games. And third, look at the components of a 2D platform game. This is to ensure that hopefully, by the end of this video, you will understand the functionalities of a 2D platform game and have a general idea of what you want to make in this genre, eventually building upon this foundation so that you can create your own 2D platform game. So first, what is a 2D platform game? A 2D platform game, otherwise known as a platformer, features two-dimensional graphics, horizontal and vertical movements with a side-scrolling or vertically scrolling environment that involves battling enemies, solving puzzles, collecting power-ups, collectibles, etc. 2D platformers also typically involve the use of sprites, which we will explain later on. Now, gameplay of 2D platformers is mostly focused on getting from point A to point B, sometimes with the inclusion of checkpoints in between point A and B. For a better way of visualizing the description of a 2D platformer, here are some examples of the genre. Probably the most important video game in history is Super Mario Bros., developed by Nintendo. They helped revitalize the game industry after its crash in 1984 and would become the backbone for almost all 2D platformers that shared the same elements. Its competitor, Sonic the Hedgehog, was developed by Sega as another 2D platformer with unique gameplay mechanics that help separate itself from Mario. Both games would elevate the genre towards new heights, especially entering the 90s with their sequels seeing tremendous success and worldwide acclaim. However, today, not much 2D platformers see much light due to the advancements in technology, particularly the evolution of video games into 3D. But that has not stopped developers on bringing a more fresh gameplay experience while being a gift from the past, especially with Celeste, one of the most critically acclaimed titles within the genre that even won an award for Best Independent Game in 2018 at the Video Game Awards. While these three video games spans numerous generations and leaps in technological advancements, they all earn their respect for being great video games without the need for hyper-realistic graphics. Much more for Mario and Sonic, whose games were developed in the 80s and 90s, that eventually they evolved into 3D games themselves. But Nintendo and Sega have revisited the past and brought their creations into Super Mario Maker and Sonic Mania, which go back to 2D platformers. These three games all share common components to what makes a 2D platform game. So, what are they? They are essentially run down into six basic components. First, the platforming mechanics. Second, the level design. Third, the use of sprites. Fourth, the enemies or obstacles. Fifth, the collectibles. And sixth, the side viewing camera. It must be noted for this series in particular, we will use a side-scrolling camera rather than a vertically scrolling camera system. The mechanics of platforming in 2D platform games are very straightforward, only using two-dimensional movement, moving up and down, and left and right. Depending on the placements of obstacles, platforms, enemies, and other gameplay aspects, it usually requires precise timing and good reflexes from players. In the level design, most of the time the whole level is getting from starting point to end point, and as mentioned before, sometimes the implementation of checkpoints. Examples of this would be the flag at the end of Mario games and the level signpost in Sonic games. The purpose of checkpoints in these games is also to quicken the progression of the level so that players wouldn't feel frustrated having to start all the way in the beginning after, let's say, dying to an enemy or falling off the stage. Third is the use of sprites. Sprites are 2D images integrated into a game scene that is typically meant to give animations and life to a character, to the environment, and other game objects. Now, if you've played Sonic before, you'll notice that everything in the environment is very lively, and this is thanks to the contribution of sprites. This is why you can see something like the clouds maybe moving, or Sonic's idle animation where he's pressing his foot up and down, or the flowers moving side to side because of the wind, or how fast Sonic is running, and other dynamic elements that you see while playing the game. This is all, again, thanks to sprites. Next are the enemies or obstacles. One of the major factors to the reason why 2D platformers typically require precision and timing is because of the enemies and obstacles they need to traverse against. They can require special actions in order for the player to successfully get past them, whether it be a jump, duck, dodge, or other movement intended by the game developer. One basic example are the Goombas in Mario games, where you either just have to jump over them or land on top of them. Now onto collectibles. Collectibles can range from a variety of purposes, probably the most common being power-ups. These often enhance the in-game experience by rewarding players for successfully traversing against the challenges. Other collectibles can increase the score of the player or take a form of currency within the game. Using the previous example like Mario, there are certain power-ups with its unique mechanics, like the fire flower, the star, or the mushroom, and their form of currency or increasing of the score are the coins. Lastly, the side camera view. For 2D platformers camera system, they typically use a side view styled camera. As mentioned before, it can either be side scrolling or vertically scrolling, but this project will use a side scrolling camera view instead. The reason why 2D platformers use a side camera view is because it can show players oncoming obstacles, platforms to reach, as well as being a form of artistic expression. With the six basic components of a 2D platform game finished, we can now move to its integration into Unity. Naturally, additional components to keep gameplay engaging and smooth are welcome, which this series aims to achieve for viewers. The implementation for the basics will help build the foundation for more experimentation for future and currently learning game developers to achieve their 2D platforming game of their dreams. In the next video, we will tackle the basics of implementing 2D elements into Unity. Along with that, the next video will include a short refresher on Unity's UI, its packages, and project settings. This is to ensure that developing a 2D platform game will become much more efficient. So to recap, a 2D platform game has six basic components, such as the side camera view, collectibles, enemies, sprites, level design, and platforming mechanics. In future videos, We will tackle those six basic components one by one so that eventually, by the end of the series, we'll have a finished build of a 2D platform game that can further be expanded through more unique mechanics and enemies. That will be all for this video, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video.